Welcome back. If you are new here, welcome for the first time. Today, we are exploring one of Skyrim's darkest truths, what it truly means to exist as a Draugr Death Overlord, the most powerful undead warriors cursed to eternal servitude in forgotten tombs. You might think you know the Draugr from fighting them in crypts and barrows across Skyrim, but what if I told you that behind every glowing blue eye is a consciousness that remembers being human? What if the most powerful among them, the Death Overlords wielding ebony weapons and speaking the Thu'um, are still aware after 3,000 years of undeath? This is not just a story about monsters. This is a confession from something that was once a man, bound by an oath that refused to end when his heart stopped beating. You will hear about the ancient dragon cult, the terrible price of loyalty, and the curse that transforms devoted warriors into something that should not exist. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. I need you to understand something before we start. This is not a horror story. This is a warning about devotion carried too far, about loyalty that does not end when the heart stops beating. I was once a man with a name. I had hands that could feel warmth. I had lungs that drew clean air. That was 3,000 years ago, give or take a century. Time moves differently when you are no longer truly alive. They called us the faithful, the chosen. We stood in the shadow of beings who could speak and the world would tremble. The dragons were gods made flesh, terrible and beautiful, and their priests were the voices that translated divine will into mortal law. I remember the day I swore my oath to the dragon priest who would become my eternal master. The words were old, even then, spoken in the tongue of dragons, a language that tastes like ice and iron on your tongue. Loyalty beyond death, service beyond the grave. These were not metaphors. We knew exactly what we were promising. The first thing you need to know about being a Draugr Death Overlord is that I did not start as one. None of us did. We were warriors, elite soldiers, the ones who stood closest to the dragon priest during the rituals, the ones who learned to speak fragments of the Thu'um, the ones entrusted with ebony weapons, blessed by dragonfire. We were the inner circle, the faithful who would not question, the devoted who would not falter. That devotion is why I still stand guard in a tomb that smells of dust and old death, while the world outside has moved on without us. My master was named Valkareth. I can still see his mask, ornate and terrible. The metal worked with symbols that hurt to look at too long. He ruled a stretch of land near what you now call the Pale. When he spoke, even other dragon priests listened. When he commanded, dragons themselves would circle overhead, and we, his chosen warriors, would have walked into fire if he asked. Some of us did, but fire was not what he asked for in the end. The Dragon War changed everything. You have heard the stories, I am sure. The rebellion, the heroes who learned the Thu'um and turned it against the dragons. Dragonrend, the shout that forced gods from the sky and made them mortal enough to bleed. We heard about it in fragments, carried by refugees, whispered by the dying. Our master refused to believe it at first. Then he refused to accept defeat. Then, in the final days, he made arrangements to ensure that defeat would not be permanent. They were already building the tomb when the last battles raged across Skyrim. Deep in the mountains, away from the rebellion's reach, a place of dark stone and darker purpose. I helped haul the stones myself. I carved the symbols into the walls, copying them from scrolls I could barely read. Each symbol was a word of power, a binding, a promise that this place would endure. We did not know we were building our own graves. The dragon priests had made a bargain with the dragons long ago. Eternal life, they were promised. A way to cheat death and return when the world was ready to embrace dragon rule once more. But eternal life requires fuel. It requires something to sustain the sleeping body while the spirit waits. That fuel was us. The faithful, the devoted, the ones who had sworn loyalty beyond death. I remember the ceremony, the final gathering before the retreat. Valkareth stood before us in his full regalia, and the torchlight made his mask seem alive. There were perhaps 100 of us in that hall. Warriors, scribes, servants. All who had remained faithful when others fled or turned traitor. He spoke to us in the dragon tongue. I understood perhaps one word in 5, but the meaning was clear. We would follow him into the dark. We would sleep until the dragons returned. We would be the guardians and the fuel that kept him preserved for that glorious day. There was no debate, no dissent. We had sworn oaths. We were the faithful. And so when they brought the cups, we drank. The liquid was bitter, thick, wrong in ways I cannot describe. When they sealed us into the niches carved into the tomb walls, we did not resist. I remember the weight of the stone lid sliding into place. The darkness, the cold, the sensation of my heart slowing, becoming something that barely beat. The embalming began while we still had awareness. They removed organs we would no longer need. They stripped skin that would only rot. They treated what remained with oils and salts and words of power spoken in whispers. I felt all of it. Then nothing for a time, just void, just absence. Then I woke, or something that could be called waking. My eyes opened in darkness and saw, impossibly, the faint blue glow of the runes carved into my niche. I tried to breathe and felt my chest move, but there was no satisfaction in it. No rush of air, just mechanical motion, like a bellows with a hole in it. I tried to move, and my body responded, but slowly, stiffly, as if the centuries that had passed while I slept had taken root in my joints. The stone lid swung open from the outside. Some force, some magical imperative commanded it. I emerged into the tomb proper and saw the others. Some were already out of their niches, moving in slow procession toward the great sarcophagus at the center of the chamber. Their movements were shambling, wrong. I looked down at my own hands and saw desiccated flesh pulled tight over bone. The skin had gone grey and leathery. Parts of my fingers showed white bone through gaps in the tissue. My armor, once polished and proud, had fused with the remains of my body in places. I was dead. We all were. Dead but moving. Dead but aware. Dead but still bound by those oaths we had sworn in life. The ritual began without words. We simply knew. One by one we approached the sarcophagus and knelt. I felt it then, the pulling, something essential being drawn out of me through invisible threads. Life force, I suppose you would call it. The bare whisper of animation that kept us moving. It flowed from us into the stone coffin, feeding the sleeping priest within, sustaining him, keeping him preserved for his promised resurrection. It hurt. Not like pain, not sharp or burning or aching. It was hollow, like being emptied out, like watching the last warm thing inside you being poured into a container you could never open. When it was done, I felt even more distant from what I had been. More a shell, more a thing. Then came the task of maintenance. We moved through the tomb like sleepwalkers. Some of us repaired broken stones. Others reset the traps that had failed over time. I found myself at the entrance, checking the mechanisms of the great puzzle door, ensuring the claws would still function when needed. The work was mindless, automatic, driven by compulsion rather than thought. When it was finished, we returned to our niches. The stone lids closed, the darkness returned, and in that darkness, something terrible happened. I remembered who I was. That is the cruelest part. In the darkness between wakings, consciousness would flicker like a guttering candle. And in those moments, I was not a thing, not a guardian, not a weapon. I was a man who had a mother, a father, a sister who used to braid flowers into her hair. I remembered summer festivals in the village, the taste of mead, the warmth of a woman I had loved before I joined the cult. Her name was Svana. I wonder if she waited for me when I did not return. I wonder if she died cursing my name or mourning it. These memories are torture. They are fragments of a life that ended 3 millennia ago, preserved in a mind that should not still exist. And they come unbidden, unpredictable, breaking through the fog of undeath like shards of glass. You cannot imagine what it is like to remember laughter when you no longer have the machinery to produce it. To remember the smell of bread baking when your nose is half rotted away and cannot smell anything but tomb dust. To remember love when you are a corpse animated by dark magic and ancient oaths. The worst part is that the memories proved I still had some fragment of self, some piece of the man I had been, trapped inside this animated shell. That meant I could still suffer, and suffer I did, for longer than your civilization has existed. The cycle became my existence. Wake, emerge, kneel, give, work, return, sleep, wake again, over and over. Sometimes years pass between wakings, sometimes decades. Once, I think, a full century went by before the magic stirred us again. But we always woke, always performed the ritual, always transferred our essence to the sleeping priest. The magic that bound us was older than reason and stronger than despair. I began to hate, not immediately. Hate requires energy, and for the first few centuries I had none to spare. But as the ages ground on, as my body withered further, and my memories grew sharper in contrast to what I had become, the hate took root. I hated Valkareth for accepting our oaths. I hated the dragons for demanding worship. I hated the rebels who had won the war, but never found this tomb to break the curse. Most of all, I hated the living, the ones who would eventually stumble into our tomb, warm and breathing and alive in ways I would never be again. When the first tomb robbers came, I do not know how long we had been sleeping, centuries certainly, maybe more. The sound of the puzzle door opening echoed through the halls, and the magic responded. We woke, we rose, and we defended. I do not remember making the choice to attack. The compulsion took over, riding my body like a puppet. But underneath it, I was aware. I was present. I watched through eyes that glowed with cold blue light as my hands lifted an ebony battle axe, as my legs carried me toward the intruders, as my throat opened and words of power emerged. Fus Ro Da, unrelenting force, the Thuum. I spoke it with lungs that had not drawn real breath in 1,000 years, and the power was terrible and exhilarating and wrong. The shout tore from my throat in the dragon tongue, and the air itself became a weapon. The tomb robbers flew backwards, bones breaking, bodies ragdolling against the stone walls. One of them screamed. The sound was so alive, so human, so full of terror and pain. I hated him for it, hated him for being able to scream, for being able to feel, for being able to die properly instead of existing in this state between death and animation. The Thuum is breath made manifest. It is will spoken into reality through the dragon language. For the living, it is a meditation, a discipline, a connection to the very fabric of creation. For us, it is a perversion. Dead lungs pushing dead air through a dead throat to make sounds that should not be possible. But we learned it in life, and death did not take that knowledge away. In some ways, the Thuum is easier for us now. We have no fear, no hesitation, no humanity to restrain us. When I shout, I put 3,000 years of rage into every syllable. What do you think really happened here? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would like to know if I am the only one who feels this way. The living kept coming. Adventurers, archaeologists, treasure hunters, the foolish and the desperate and the curious. They triggered the traps we maintained. They solved the puzzle doors we could not open from the inside. And they died, or they fled, or, rarely, they survived and escaped with whatever trinkets they could carry. Each time I killed or tried to kill, each time the compulsion drove me forward. Each time I was aware of what I was doing. That awareness is its own punishment. I am not mindless. I am not some shambling corpse without thought. I am a warrior who was, who knows what he has become, who cannot stop himself from serving. There are moments between the compulsion, gaps where my will is my own. They last seconds maybe, long enough to look at my reflection in a polished shield I just struck, long enough to see the monster I have become, desiccated flesh, empty sockets with blue fire where eyes should be, ancient armor covered in the dust of ages. I am a warning that should have been heeded, walking and killing and serving a master who may never wake. These moments of awareness are brief, but they are enough to know that I am cursed, enough to understand that this is eternal unless someone destroys me completely. The tomb itself has become part of me. I know every corridor, every trap, every crack in every stone. I have walked these halls so many times that my feet have worn grooves into the floor. I have reset the swinging blade trap 10,000 times. I have cleaned the blood of intruders from the altar steps more times than I can count. This place is my world, my prison, my purpose, and I maintain it with the dedication of the faithful servant I was trained to be, even as I scream silently inside this cage of bone and leather. Generations have passed outside these walls. Empires have risen and fallen. The dragon cult was destroyed, hunted down, driven to extinction. The dragons themselves vanished from the skies. The world moved on. But in here, nothing changes. We wake, we serve. We sleep, we wake again. Time is meaningless when you are caught in an eternal cycle. I have been a Draugr Death Overlord longer than I was ever a man, and Valkareth still sleeps, still waits, still dreams perhaps of the day the dragons will return and reward our faithfulness. I feel him sometimes during the ritual, a presence behind the stone, ancient and patient, and utterly indifferent to our suffering. He does not know what he has done to us. Or perhaps he knows and does not care. We are tools to him. We were always tools. If this story has kept you listening this far, and you want more of these dark confessions from Skyrim, hit that subscribe button. It tells me someone out there is still paying attention to warnings like these. But there is something I have not told you yet. Something that changes everything. The dragons have returned. Alduin has come back, just as the prophecies promised. I felt it the moment he crossed back into this world. Every Draugr in every tomb across Skyrim felt it. A tremor in the magic that binds us. A pull towards something we had waited millennia to witness. The return of the God Kings. The vindication of our eternal service. The moment when our devotion would finally be rewarded, and nothing changed. Valkyreth did not wake. The ritual continued as it always had. We rose, we served, we transferred our essence to the sarcophagus, and we returned to our niches. The dragons returned, and we remained slaves to a cycle that would not break. That is when I understood the final crushing truth. We were never meant to be rewarded. We were never meant to be freed. We were fuel, and fuel is consumed until it is gone. Our reward is that we get to continue serving, forever. I have heard the dragons flying overhead. Their roars shake the stones of the tomb. I have heard the Dragonborn, the one prophesied to destroy Alduin, fight and kill the great beasts. The sounds carry down through layers of rock and earth. Each dragon death is a bell tolling, marking the end of the dream we died to preserve. The dragons are losing again. Alduin will fall again, and we will still be here, trapped in stone and spell, serving a priest who will never wake, because the world he was waiting for will never come. There are other death overlords across Skyrim. I sense them sometimes, distant echoes in the network of tombs and barrows. We are the strongest of the Draugr, the elite warriors who stood at the highest ranks. We wield ebony weapons that never dull. We speak the Thuum with power that can shatter stone and bone. We are the final guardians, the last line of defense for the sleeping priests. And we are all the same, all trapped, all aware, all suffering in silence that stretches across centuries. Some tombs have been breached. I know this because I have felt the sudden absence where once there was presence. A death overlord destroyed completely, a priest defeated, a tomb emptied of its dark purpose. Each loss is a strange sensation, part relief that another prisoner has been freed through destruction, part envy that they found their end while I remain, part fear that my tomb will never be found, that I will continue this existence until the world itself ends and takes me with it. I want you to understand what it means to be truly trapped. You can leave wherever you are right now. You can walk away from this story. You can close your eyes and sleep and wake to a new day. I cannot. I have not left this tomb in 3,000 years. I will never leave unless someone comes to destroy me. And even then, I will fight them with every ounce of power I possess because the compulsion demands it. I will kill the one person who could free me. And I will be aware of the tragedy even as my axe falls. The cruelest joke is that I have become exactly what I swore to be. A perfect guardian, an eternal servant, a warrior who never rests. The oath I took in life has outlasted my flesh, my sanity, my hope. It has made me into something that will fulfill its purpose until nothing remains. And the magic that binds me is woven into the very foundation of this tomb, into the bones that still hold some memory of being alive, into the fragments of soul that refuse to move on to Sovngarde when they should have. If you have ever wondered what choice you would make in a situation like this, tell me in the comments. I will be reading them. Sometimes during the ritual, when we kneel before Valkyreth's sarcophagus and the life force is pulled from us, I catch glimpses of something, dreams maybe, or memories so old they have crystallized into fantasy. I see myself breaking free, tearing off the ancient armor that has fused with my body, smashing open the sarcophagus, dragging the sleeping priest into the light and watching him crumble to dust, taking my ebony axe and reducing this tomb to rubble, walking out into the sun, or what I imagine the sun must be like now after so long in darkness. And then the vision ends. The ritual completes. I return to my niche. The cycle continues. I have tried to resist. In those brief moments when the compulsion releases its grip, I have tried to disobey, to refuse the ritual, to damage the tomb beyond repair, to destroy myself. The magic does not allow it. My body moves without permission. My hands repair what I try to break. My legs carry me back to the niche, even as my mind screams in protest. The oath is absolute. The binding is complete. I am less a person and more a function, like a door that opens and closes, like a trap that springs and resets. You need to know that every Draugr you have encountered was once someone. Every shambling corpse in every tomb across Skyrim was a person who loved and feared and hoped. We were farmers and soldiers and scholars. We had families. We had dreams that did not involve eternal servitude in the dark. The lesser Draugr, the ones who seem mindless, perhaps they are fortunate. Perhaps their awareness faded over the centuries, until nothing remained but the compulsion. But the Death Overlords retain more. We remember more. We suffer more. We are cursed with the intelligence to understand our own damnation. The living see us as monsters. And they are right to. I am a monster. I have killed hundreds in defense of a tomb that should have been destroyed ages ago. I have struck down the innocent and the guilty alike. I have used the Thuum, a gift that should be sacred, to murder and maim. I have become the very thing the dragon cult represented: cruelty in service of power, devotion twisted into horror, faith that demands everything and gives nothing back. But I was a man once. I had a name I can barely remember. I had a life that ended the day I swore an oath I thought I understood. If you are listening to this and you feel pity, do not. If you feel horror, you should. If you ever find yourself in a Nordic tomb, face to face with a death overlord wielding an ebony blade and speaking words of power with a voice like grinding stone, understand this: the creature trying to kill you was once like you, and it hates you for being what it can never be again. Alive, free, human. This is what it means to be a Draugr Death Overlord in Skyrim. This is what loyalty beyond death truly costs. This is the price of devotion to masters who never deserved it. And this is the warning I leave you. Be careful what oaths you swear. Be careful what causes you die for. Because death may not be the end of your service. It may only be the beginning of something far, far worse. The dragons have returned and fallen again. The world continues. And I remain, waiting, guarding, hating, serving, forever.